It's very important as a beekeeper, especially if you have a lot of colonies, to have nucleus-sized colonies. So in a situation where you have a large colony that loses a queen, and queens are not available all year round, and I'm a beekeeper up here in Michigan, I don't take my bees south during the winter, so I have to have the ability to inspect hives during the winter and combine hives if I need to. My third winter, I had placed 4 colonies in that window there, and I had, what was it, 20 in these windows, and I was plugging, during the winter I would plug the holes when it wasn't nice for them to be outside. So one day when it was sunny and it was warm enough for the bees to come out and there was still snow on the ground, I unplugged a hive deep, and the bees come flying out, and they all landed on the ground and they died. And I was really astonished. It was my third winter. Why were they doing that? So I quickly plugged the hole. I took the hive into my shed and I opened it up. I found out that they didn't have a queen, and even though they had sugar that I'd given them, they had run out of honey. So it's important. They have to have a queen. They have to have honey. Without those, they get demoralized and they don't want to live. It's what I do believe. I believe bees have to be happy in order to want to live. They can have the ability to die when they want to, because the bees were alive coming out of the hive. They weren't dying in the hive. And it wasn't because they were cold when they hit the snow that they died. They wanted to die. Believe it or not, that's the truth. So I gathered up some of the bees in the snow, and I took them to the shed. Also, when I took that hive, and I did combine that hive with another one in my house, and that saved them. After I combined them with a hive that had a queen, they did not want to die anymore. So this is how I keep nucleus hives during the winter. It's very important. It's warm right now, so I don't have to do this inside. And I am feeding them. And what I do when it's warm and I'm feeding them, this is the shim that I use. I have a platform. There's the platform, and it's designed to fit one of these entrance feeders. That fits in there. And I keep it on the inside so the robbers don't know it's there, and I don't have robbers getting into my hive, bothering the colonies. And if I need to refill this, I take an index card divider. This is plastic, so it washes easy. And I lift it up a little bit, and I slide it underneath. I slide it underneath till the bees are all in the entrance feeder. And then I take this and I fill it, and then I quickly put it over there and pull that out. So not very many bees get out. During the winter, I'm not feeding them anyway, but before I do a stack of colonies, hives, before I inspect them, I take the feeders out, and there's bees in the feeders, and the bees will fly out and they'll go into the hive. And after about 15 minutes or so, 10 minutes, I come back through and I plug up the hives, and I can set them down. And the reason I'm doing this is because yesterday I found a dead queen right here on the deck. So, and then this morning when it was quiet, I don't know if you can hear the road, but when I have a quiet moment, I can listen to the colonies, and I'll choose whichever one's the noisiest. And I'll start with that one first to see if they have a queen. So 118 was the noisiest, and they happen to be at the bottom, and I don't have to plug this one up because I'm not pulling this one out. This only takes a few minutes. It only took me 5 minutes to pull these out. And then the ones on the side, I have rags that I poke in from the other side. I will take those rags out before I pull the hives out. And you always plug up the hole in your shim here before you move it. You don't want to move it with a feeder jar on there. It'll fall out and get broke. So I poke rags in the gap. You want to have a gap so that you have a little bit of room for things to slide in and out. And then there's old bath towels at the top. So anyway, this one right here I'm suspecting doesn't have a queen, but I'm going to find out when I examine. And this is the bottom board that's customized. See, I've got strips of wood here and a strip of wood there, and it's the same dimensions as a super. Now I let these bees calm down after I open up the hive. I normally don't open it so quickly like that. Let them calm down, and I'm going to pull off the shim. I pull this off. During the winter I set everything inside, and the bees will go to the windows here. And I only do one inspection at a time. And I will gather up the bees, and I will put them in a jar, and I put it over this entrance feeder, and I quickly, with this plastic index divider on the jar, I quickly put it over that, and then I put a dark rag over that so they don't see any light and they go into the hive. That's how I gather up bees during the winter. But right now, it's not cold outside, so the bees can fly around. And then when I'm done, I close it back up and they go back in. And I do one at a time. When I get done with this one, I take the next one. You got to remember, you always want to put them in the same place. This one right here is next, and this one right here, I know this is the top, and this one right here is underneath the top. So that one goes next. When I get done inspecting that one, I'll put that one in and inspect that one, and then I'll so on. And if I do happen to find queens in all these, then great. Then I know it's either this one or this one. And the other day, I have a South Apiary with right now 29 colonies. Last month when I went down to get my second honey harvest and honeybee harvest, I found one that had a virgin queen. So I went ahead and I let them continue to try to make a laying queen out of her. And I took my smallest colony that was in the window, my smallest nuke, because you don't want them too small. It was in trouble, being honest. It was in trouble. It wouldn't have made it through winter. And I took it down to my South Apiary just in case they didn't have a laying queen. And sure enough, they didn't have a laying queen. So I combined it, and I had I put a cage on the frame with the queen overnight to make sure they didn't kill the queen. And then I went back the next day and I took the cage off the frame, and they treated the queen just fine. So I have two colonies here that 2 weeks ago had 5 to 6 day old queen cells. So I went ahead and let them continue. I know it's September. They may or they may not produce a new laying queen. If they do not, then I can start here with these colonies here. I can take the queen and the deep holding the queen. I can combine it over there, or I can take one of these. If I have one of these that's in trouble that I don't think is going to be good to have it in the window through winter, I can take that and put it over there. And if that colony's not large enough to winter outside, then I'll strap it and I'll bring it up here on the deck during the winter. Okay, it's very simple. Pause this for a sec. Okay, I've taken out some frames on the side, and I try to leave new foundation frames in there for them to do something during the winter or late winter when they start growing, to fill out some frames. And they're not noisy now, so it's got me wondering, do they really have a queen or not? And I'm going to find out here in a few minutes. But I do have queen excluders coming, because I have had this colony here shortly after I put them in the window. This colony absconded tried to abscond while I was home. The queen didn't actually make it off the front porch. So I gathered them up, put them in a hive with the queen, and put a queen excluder in. And then since then, I've had 2 abscondings of my window colonies. So I'm getting queen excluders, putting them in all of my window colonies, because I'm using acylic acid, and acylic acid seems to make the colonies want to leave because of the residue that's left over from the acylic acid. But there's not much I can do about that. So I just want to make sure the queen can't leave, and if the queen can't leave, they can't abscond. So basically this is what I do here during the winter. During the winter, as everything's done on the inside. But right now it's not quite winter. It's warm enough to be outside. But I'm going to check this here. If I find a queen, then I go on to the next one, okay? Thank you.